Hi everyone, this is Nikki. It is May 12, 2022, and you're watching the Awesome10X Philippine Market Update. It's been a week, and we already have a new president. It is President Marcos, Bongbong Marcos, and Vice President Sara Duterte. A lot of people have been wondering ano yung mas masakit daw, to lose money in the market or to lose the presidency over somebody that they didn't elect. Either way, all I can tell everyone is that number one, I still hope that number one, you can postpone your emotional grievances and postpone your bearish predictions, and let's just stick to the market. It is correct to criticize. It is not wrong to have your problems about the headwinds of the Philippines. Much has been said, but let us stick to what we could do as a country. 110 million Filipinos, 31 million Filipinos today have voted for BBM and Sara. That is a mandate of the people. I'm not saying that you just accept it and then move on with it. Number one, you have to be aware of the situation. The awareness of the situation will allow you to hopefully make some money regardless. So let's take a look at what's happening on the PSE Edge. Okay, so the listed most viewed disclosures, ASEN, CREIT, Converge, Monde, SM. Let's take a look at these first. Basahin natin yung mga press releases. You've got ASEN, AC Energy, reporting a 400 million peso net income for the first quarter of 2022. These revenues rose 7.4 billion pesos. New strategic partnerships to become the largest renewable player in the region. The consolidated revenues is driven by new operating capacity, 2 solar farms in India and Philippines, as well as several wind facilities in Vietnam. The net income is lower than the previous year due to higher cost of purchase power due to elevated spot market price. And they're saying that there was a damage from Typhoon Odette, reconstruction. Company is facing significant headwinds, new operating capacity coming online the next few months. So strategic partnership updates to help achieve its capacity expansion target. We will begin construction of 133 megawatt in Lalo, Cagayan, Philippines. We're also forming a joint venture with Cleantech Renewable Energy 4. So that was it, no? The Lalo, Cagayan, Philippines. Recent global events have shed light on the importance of energy security, accelerated the worldwide energy transition. The conflict in Ukraine have led to soaring price of commodities, highlighting the need for a more aggressive, sustainable energy resource, said by ASEAN President Eric T. Francia. They currently have 3,800 megawatts capacity in the Philippines and across the region, of which 33 or close to 90% is renewable. They want to reach 5,000 megawatts earlier than 2025. Okay, so the world might be happy with this result, but you can see that ASEN has been selling off for the last few days. Let's take a look at your ASEN here. EC Energy is dropping to about 6 peso 55 cents. We have the notion that it would fall because it was a growth company. We said that after hitting that high of 13, it seemed that it would fall. And we don't know the bottom yet. So far, it could be, in my guess, 4.8, potential bottom at 5, which means that it can fall another 30% from here. But actually, after 5, if that breaks down, it could be this 4 or as low as, I don't know if all the way down. But we will see. The reasons why we were a little bit on the bear side on AC Energy had to do with seeing it as a growth company. As a growth company, we expect growth companies to usually deflate, i.e. the PE ratios, or rather the price to sales ratios to deflate, or the market caps to deflate, due to the significant capex that they would have to invest for those solar farms and wind farms to generate value. Value as in the cash dividends to come in. Due to that, it's normal to see that ASEN, after that drop, continues to be a falling knife, and we would not pick it up until we see a formation of a bottom. A formation of a bottom, it is a question mark today. Is it 5, 4, or worse? So for now, let me just wait until where the drop stops. Let's take a look at more news here. Let's read about the Monde press release here and the Converge. Let's read it lang. Monde is posting high revenues on the back of a 10% sales growth for the first quarter. So revenues increased 18 billion for the first quarter. Gross margin still showed a price recovery, a 150 basis recovery, but decreased 35% year on year due to input costs continuing to rise. Everyone knows about the higher commodities, and so people already expected that the wheat price, the Ukraine conflict, is going to affect the Monde Nissan Group. Okay, the core net income saw a decrease of 13% to 2.1 billion pesos, benefiting from a lower interest expense due to paying the Aran convertible note and bank loans in 2021. So hindi niya dito pinakita how much would they have lost their income if they weren't getting an interest rate benefit, no, the expenses there. Actually, may kita mo yan from the 2.3 billion, you can see that in the operating income. Let me see if makikita natin kay Monde how bad was the operating income hit. I think that is what more people are interested about, not the offset of the not the offset on the financials. Okay, I can see it here from the press release. So I guess we will wait for more announcements coming from Monde. But I still am bearish on Monde Nissan. Let's take a look at Monde today, the chart of Monde. So it is still trading 13.6. It hasn't fallen down to new lows, although my assumption, I've been saying that it is a bearish chart, that Monde Nissan will have several headwinds. I painted a new low prediction for Monde Nissan. I'm still out of the game. I have no position in the Philippine market. So far, I'm just cash, 100% cash. But I really like Monde's business. I think that in the long term, the headwinds on the inflation is gonna be lesser, diba? Sabi nga ng US, inflation may have peaked. Nonetheless, that inflation is gonna be a headwind for a year or so. I would still expect Monde to fall to new lows. Let me see how low it can go. 14 minus 12 is around 8. 14 minus, this is 17 minus 13. So just from a technical perspective, you would see, hindi ko isasabi where it can go, pero I still see it's gonna go new lows. So, hintayin ko. If it doesn't really hit new lows, that's good to see. Kasi that means Monde is able to just stay here and consolidate at about 12.6 and 13.6. But I don't see big upside. So, with headwinds coming, their gross margin is declining 35%, as they said. They are admitting na may malaking problema. And it's not gonna be fixed within a few quarters. So, this drop of EBITDA to 3.6 billion pesos should impact them. Tingnan natin. So far, no? Ito yun. Input costs continue to rise. Gross margin nag-recover pero dahil sa volume growth. Sige, good job for Monde, but I remain skeptic. Converge, let's take a look. Converge press release. They are enhancing connectivity between Hong Kong, China, Southeast Asia, submarine cables. Okay, not a big really no big mover there. Nicolasia here. Nicolasia is reporting an 80% increase in attributable net income. Well, the world already expects that. You are a commodity group business. Everyone expected commodities to print a lot of money. The question would be how big is your dividends? Because oil companies are getting their best profits in over a decade, some of them since 20 years, since listing. So, tingnan natin. Today, announced income of 1 billion pesos. To be honest, 80% doesn't mean too much. Kasi with how nickel prices worldwide went something like from 12,000 to as much as 100,000 only to deflate to 40,000, you could argue na 80%. That's not a lot. People might have expected more. Martin Zamora is saying that they continue to see a record deficit, which means that there will still be strong demand for stainless steel, the electric vehicle market, metals and mining business. From an outlook perspective, what they are saying is true, but the problem is China may be facing a potential recession, the US may be facing a recession, and so the strong demand for stainless steel in the EVs might actually become a not pretty certain assumption. So I think that some commodities worldwide are actually getting killed because of potential demand destruction. Demand destruction meaning if commodity prices are so high, not enough consumers can actually spend for buying anything because they're getting hit by the high oil prices, natatamaan yung consumer spending nila. So I would argue that the demand for EVs or even houses would decline and therefore demand destruction potential on commodities. So etong increase on income of Nickel Asia might not be forever. So the market will be a little bit cautious on Nickel Asia going forward. Um, it says here that operating costs increased by 8%. They were able to export 651,000 wet metric tons of saprolite and limonite ore at an average price of 46.9 compared to 45.6 last year. Actually, nagtaka ako dyan. That's just a small increase, no? You would have thought that that would have been bigger. This compares to 1.81 million wet metric tons. Ito. So they delivered 1.74 wet metric tons of limonite ore at an average price of 11.8. So that is 50% higher than the $8 per average in 2021. The two general HPAL plants generated 19.58 and 11.29. Okay, not bad. Sige. They didn't discuss any cash dividends. And I think the market is a little bit sad about that they didn't see any cash dividend from Nickel Asia despite that huge income. Okay, the next news to read is Semirara. So this is an amazing increase, but the profits of 15 billion pesos. Wow. Semirara, this is the coal naman, highest quarterly net income ever. 15 billion pesos, record breaking. Says here that we don't see a turning of a trend because of unfavorable weather conditions, record high coal production. Yeah, so we have been bullish on all of these commodities, coal. Yeah, the Philippines would essentially need electricity. So this group profitability benefited from surging electricity prices, back of higher gross generation and sales, rebounding demand. So this only confirms that the Philippine society is heavily investing in energy, which is a good thing. Let's take a look at Semirara here. Semirara reporting those good earnings is gonna be loved by the market. We still have that buy rating on Semirara. And you can see that the market today has rebounded, which is a very huge outperformance for Semirara versus the entire PSEI. So my argument is the same. Any dips on this Semirara, even if it falls 24, is something to take a look at. And it is something to consider buying that is still good. For Nickel Asia, I am not bearish even if it fell. Um, there is resistance here at 8.5. The recent drop at 7.5 is bearish. But long term, no, the trend of nickel is still upward. So I think this one is a correction to about 6 pesos or a 10% downside on nickel. I think the market isn't so happy not seeing a dividend release. But other than that, and they might be disappointed. It's just up 80%. They thought it was bigger. But it looks to be a big trading range for Nickel Asia. It's a trading range wherein 8 pesos is a resistance and perhaps 6 pesos. You can see a 30% range for Nickel Asia here. PHR, this is an interesting disclosure. So we already now know that Razon is Ricky Razon of Bloomberry is now the proud owner of PH Resorts. Let's read it. Signing of a term sheet with Bloomberry. PH Resorts hereby discloses that PH Travel and Leisure Holdings signed the term sheet with Bloomberry. The term sheet covers the supposed investment of Bloom into Lapu-Lapu Leisure, which is developing the Emerald Bay Resort Hotel and Casino in Punta Engano, Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu, and into Clark Grand Leisure Corp, which is developing the Base Resort Hotel and Casino in Clark in Pampanga. Executing definitive agreements. Certain terms are still being finalized. Okay, so let's take a look what exactly happened here. The market is happy actually on that news with Bloomberry getting a big acquisition through PHR in these locations. And you can see the markets actually bounced from 6 pesos Bloomberry rising to about 6.5. We do see that Bloomberry seems to be trading in a range from 6 to 8. I am not bullish on Bloomberry, however, though, even if it rose to 6.5. The deal is good for Bloomberry just on watching how it's happening. But as the deals aren't finalized, we couldn't really say how much they paid for PHR Resorts Group. So PHR is rising. You can see that from that news alone, this went from 90 cents to 135. People think it can go to 2 pesos. We don't know. Actually, we don't know how much Bloomberry paid for PH Resorts Group. Was it a cheap deal? Was it a very expensive deal? So we cannot actually know until we read the fine print here. But the market, you can see the reaction is positive on the news, both for PHR and Bloomberry, thinking that it's a win-win solution for both. So the win-win solution, of course, is the Filipinos. The Filipinos end up getting more tourists, if ever, because these are tourist spots. And we know that Bloomberry is more of a function on tourism. If the Philippine economy can encourage more tourism, it's possible that PHR, PH Resorts, and Bloomberry will go up together. It's a play on tourism, if you ask me. Let's take a look at the markets itself. I will answer your questions as well. But before I answer them, let me go first to the index. All right. So the index right now is trading at 6,500. We are down 100 points, down 1.5%. We are selling off as the entire markets in the US are also selling off. China is in a recession, as I said. Russia is in a recession. Depression in Europe. And the world is basically in a very difficult place. So we are not going to be able to be isolated with all the problems of the world, whether it be inflation or the war. So that is going to affect the Philippine economy as well as the risks of potential dollar, no? So the dollar devaluation. Right now, you are seeing already that the USD PHP is trading at about 52.43, 44. As 52 is trying to hit 54 or 55, we might see that the Philippine economy have higher debts to serve. So actually, all companies, especially the companies that have borrowed money in dollar, are subject to potential problems. Case in point, Jollibee here, I believe, has a big problem because they borrowed in dollars. And from a relative revenue perspective, Jollibee sales are, I think, still 70% domestic. So the sales abroad, whether that be in US or Vietnam or some Chinese, diba, they have some US, Vietnam, China, and all across the world naman, I don't think they have been fully prepared for a super strength in dollar that it still is to me a sell rating for Jollibee, and I'm still waiting for it to go 180 or 160 before watching on where the demand will be. So I'm bearish on Jollibee. I'm actually bearish on consumer spending. You can see that the SM group is having a hard time. Let's take a look at SM investments here. SM Investments is actually trading at a downtrend. It's been in a downtrend for over 5 years already. This is 2018 until 2022. We haven't seen it break above 1,030. And unfortunately, I think this 800 is going to collapse all the way to 700. And the prime catalyst here for SM to fall is because consumer sales or the sales revenues of SM is not as good as before because the SM Prime alone, the units of the malls, which used to have limpak-limpak na pera from rentals and retail outlets paying a portion of their sales to SM, isn't anymore there. So we are looking at a potential breakdown here of 33 pesos for SM Prime, which could lead it to 27 or another 20% decline. I am very bearish on the Philippine economy when you look at this, just from a consumer spending. And so I told you guys that at 7.2, I expected it to fall to about 6.1. It's now 6.5. It hasn't fallen to 6.2. Unfortunately, in fact, even 6.2 might lead to 5.7 or 5.5. So let's estimate the drop of the Philippine market. It has to do with consumer spending. If consumer spending deteriorates, we will have a problem. It can only be cured by sales trickling in the Philippines. How would sales come? We look to see the new president, Marcos, to see whether the Marcos Duterte regime can encourage jobs. I have been, reading up on the platform that they are, of course, trying to continue the Duterte regime of the Build program. So that will be good, as we said, for the likes of MPI, which is Metro Pacific Investments. So Metro Pacific Investments right now is holding steady here at about 350, 380. My view is that if there will be continuity in the projects, infrastructure toll roads like an MPI could benefit from that. So 3.4 or 2.6, the lower it goes, might be a strong buying area. So I haven't deployed at all, but it's something that I'm looking at. It's just a look for now. Let's read through the index before I answer any questions. Let's read through the index. We said that cash dividends is gonna be a big deal for investors to look at which stock to buy. So in the index, you have market value of 7 billion. Although there's a lot of red here, pure gold dropping 5%. Let's just read through this. Index movers tayo. Telephone is now 1900, SM is 828, Monde is 13.6, AGI is 1148, Meralco is 333, San Miguel is 101. Wilcon is 27, Aboitiz Equity Ventures is 50, Luxottan Group is 8, Mega World is 2.75, MPI is 3.8, Robinson's Land is 18.5, Emperor is 19.8, GT Cap 500, Globe 2338, Converge 26.5, Boitis Power 29.8, Security Bank 94.15, Pure Gold 32, Ascent 6.6, JG Summit 52, Metro Bank 50, URC 110, AC 693, ICT 214, Jollibee 210, BDO 126, BPI 92, SM Prime 33, Ayala Land 29. A most significant new low here would be Ayala Land breaking down. We can see that Ayala Land 29 is perhaps an anomaly for others, except that it doesn't surprise me because in my view, real estate sales have not been real estate is a function of the economy. So we are seeing that Ayala Land here is dropping at 29. It can even, of course, we would look to buy Ayala Land perhaps as low as 24 or 20. But it can fall further. Hindi ko sinasabi that it's a problem, but the the real estate is a function of consumer confidence. The real estate economy is a function of people having wealth. You buy a house because you are wealthy, or you want to invest in houses because you have excess yun eh. I would say that the market is selling things off as a view that there will be less money towards housing, less money towards spending for big ticket purchases like a car. GT cap could fall from 500 to 450 because cars are perhaps not gonna be as abundant. There's less consumer spending. Am I surprised that pure gold is dropping to 32? In some ways, supermarkets, in my view, is a more resilient business. You might curtail or postpone buying a house or buying a car, but you will not stop eating at some point. No, so groceries, in my view, are stable names. And so, in the drop, I would say that this drop of pure gold at 31, as low as 27, would be an interesting buying opportunity. So I still have that buying range for pure gold, albeit it hasn't dropped there. Recently it did, 31 rally to 38. I sold something at 36, I think. But I'm waiting to buy somewhere at 31, 30. Actually, today it's interesting to buy, but I'll wait if I could get lower. I haven't deployed, as I said, just watching things for now. A lot of people are judging Marcos already. You cannot judge a book immediately by its cover, although sa bagay, it's very hard for most Filipinos to do this. In some ways, hindi ko naman hindi ko I'm not saying that we have to accept. Of course, I want people to be critical about the government. But whoever wins, 'di ba? The winner is to the winner, 'di ba? Tapos na 'yan. Let us try to foster the community to ewan ko, magkakaroon ba ng mga more revolutions? I don't know, but it's important that we will judge the government based on the policies, no? So let's wait and see. for now. The recent policy is VP Sara Duterte is now our DepEd chief, Partner of Education chief. From a chart perspective here, I don't see a reason to buy anything as of the moment. There are some interesting companies. I would argue, siguro, a 10% drop, 6.5 could go. I'd start looking at the market when the index is perhaps nasa either 5.5 or 5.7. Tingnan natin. If it doesn't happen, okay lang naman. I'll watch things first. I'm more of a wait and see. I'm not trying to buy yet because even the US markets, in my view, has leeway to fall. So there's just enough problems worldwide that I don't think that it is safe to put your money agad, no? So that's what we've been saying. Kaya hindi tayo wala pa tayong nakabet. Basically, zero position sa Philippine markets so far. Go for web na ba, ma'am? To be honest, hindi pa ako gumagalaw, but di ko masabi, web went up from 2 to 4 and then dropping to 3. So perhaps this is a resumption of gaming. Of course, the Marcoses have been, the Aranetas, no, are affiliated. We don't know. Let's watch things play out. Di ko masabi. Should we liquidate REITs? Well, REITs have been I've talked about the REITs. I said that the REITs have become more like a dividend name. But the problem with the REITs like Ayala, it doubled, no, from 20 to 46 without a significant change naman. So, depending on what REIT we're talking about, I think the drop of REIT ng Ayala REIT was correct. Been saying na medyo weird na umangat yan ng 100% kasi it's just a 5% dividend name. REITs, I think like the drops on REITs are more of people realizing that they shouldn't be making too much money from the REITs. Kasi the REITs are just a 5% dividend policy and they don't expect to make, I think that it is wrong to expect tons of money on REITs. Kahit 38 nga yung REIT, I would still say it's still more of a sell kasi what type of dividends really are you capable of? Hindi ko nakikita yung reason. Nickel just gave dividend last March. Yeah, I remember. Nickel was a big giver. So I guess people are siguro expectations game na lang yan. FNI, Mark, they all gave good dividends. So ito yon, special cash dividends of sorry, this is FNI, which was 22 cents. Nickel gave, I think, 50 cents. Tama ba? Tingnan natin. Dividends. Sa 5 pesos, they gave 50 cents. Sorry. What's this? This is Nickel Asia. Hanapin ko yung dividend na binigay niya. I think nandito yon sa TradingView. Earnings. This one, yeah, nung March, they paid 22 cents. Here, they paid 22 cents. So, medyo consistent naman. They've been paying. Pero the market perhaps na-spoil. Gusto na ng dividends every quarter. Tingnan natin. But if they do pay like something like 40 cents, no? So, even at 6 pesos, that's 6%. People would buy Nickel Asia, in my view, on dips. Thoughts on GMA7. I am not a big believer of investing in social media or media. I mean, sorry, not on social media. I am an investor in Facebook, although the US is dropping wildly. Pero GMA7, so their businesses are related to advertising revenues. So again, I think I remember putting this buy before because of the dividend. I was thinking na, may dividend siya na malaki. But after that, what else is new? So tapos na yun, April 20. It sold off because the dividends were given. So going forward, the question will become, is the earnings of GMA7, will it be sustainable? I'm not too high conviction on it. So I would rather say not my opinion. So not knowledgeable means that I wouldn't deal with it. Thoughts on SGP? I have no idea. Unfortunately, that was the Meralco grid, no? So I need to see them pay constant dividends before declaring that they are a good buy. Maybe I need a few years to see SGP's track record. Thoughts on Luxottan Group? Luxottan Group, I think, is marred with a little bit of it has always had controversy. Although Luxottan already assigned a new president, 'di ba? The Luxottan Junior. I saw in a recent article. Um, Along with, of course, Michael Tan. New management team will see whether the new businesses, I mean, not the new business, it's the same business, but new management. Um, I have no idea. Well, I know LTG is a cigarette business, and cigarette business is always, so far, still making money. So if you're saying that it's a money making enterprise, then yes, the question is, um, hindi ako siguro for emotional reasons I've never been a big fan of even if it's a profitable business. I'm not a big fan of cigarette smoking at all. So I never bought kahit na may cash dividends pa yan or something. From a cash dividend perspective, I would rather support mga very traditional like utilities, Meralco, Manila Water. Every now and then I would support mga Philippine Telecoms. Is Mac good to buy? Unfortunately, I don't think so because I have very few reasons to believe that the reopening or the travel is really gonna be high in demand. Honestly speaking, I said, diba, I'm bearish on Cebu Pacific kasi the high oil prices, the consumer spending, I am hardly bullish. I cannot find a reason to be bullish, and this has nothing to do with political affiliations or anything. And for the most part, I who am I, diba? I'm nobody naman. So like, I don't really think that um, political events should really determine your capacity to buy a company or invest in a company. However, the big risk that I see is the sales. No, the sales is perhaps gonna fall down, and it's a worldwide event. Let's be clear. With high inflation and the dollar peso devaluation, any company for that matter, mahihirapan. So since I'm bearish on the world economy, I cannot buy anything so far in the market. Kaya nakakash ako, unfortunately. Thoughts on Converge inclusion in MSCI. I've said Converge was a high growth stock. I don't think high growth stocks can be saved. So when Converge fell down from about, I think I was one of the few who was saying na I'm bearish on Converge, Asen, ayan, puro downtrends. So at 30, I was saying sell pa rin. It's now 26. I don't know. I think it has leeway to fall down. Nothing against Converge. I like the broadband infrastructure businesses. They are profitable from an EBITDA basis, but they have a lot of capex to spend. So I think for the Filipinos, you just sorry, as I said since last time that I had a Philippine market update. I continue to remain bearish. It might be bearish for a longer time period. We'll see. Um, but I would change my mind when there are catalysts. So far, mining are a few of the reasons to park your money, but hindi rin siya sobrang compelling buy. We talked about Aboitiz Power being relatively safe, neutral tayo sa mga power engines of the Philippine economy. Neutral to bullish naman ako sa power and energy. I think from a sector perspective, staples I would buy, like a supermarket like Pure Gold, at certain levels. And yun, so yung spending of the Philippines has to show to me that it can grow through millions of jobs. If we can see millions of jobs in the Philippines through infrastructure spending policies, that would bring about a really, really good Philippines. So hope for the best. I still hope for the best. As difficult as it may be, look at the policies. Let's see whether it brings about millions of jobs. If it brings jobs, if it brings people some money, then they will be able to spend. And that's when you will be confident of SM or the Ayala lands. Until that happens, though, I wouldn't be bullish. I need to wait and see. That's me. Okay, so I'm not bullish on anything, unfortunately. And yeah, and unfortunately, just stay in cash, even if cash doesn't pay much, because it gives you the leeway to buy stocks lower when it does fall down 20, 30% lower. Okay, bye bye.